All right, we'll go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we could all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom? Here. Mrs. Spiritu? Here. Ms. Lewis?
Here.
Sorry, Ms. Laird? Here. Mr. Price?
Here. Could I get a motion to approve the minutes for the regular meeting held April 24th, 2023, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lewis. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Ms. Bloom? Yes. Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved. Before we move on, and I know this is on the edge here, but I'll say, let's see, how can I say this nicely? I'll say this from me personally. Thank you to our community, our levy passed. Big shout out to our community for your support, for our school district, for our kids, for our staff, for everyone on that levy committee, for all the hard work that was put into that, the staff, the students, everybody involved. Thank you very much for that. I know that's not exactly what the powers that be say that we can say about a levy anymore, which is crazy, but it needs to be said. So thank you. All right, moving on. Legislative report.
Nothing at this time.
Okay. No walk-on items tonight?
No, sir.
Okay. Moving on to the community, hearing of the public. If anyone would like to speak to the board, they can come up to the podium. We just ask that you state your name and address just for the record's purpose and have at it.
Good evening. My name is Bob Gross. I'm the Economic Development Director for the City of Fremont. I live at 315 Lincoln Street. I work at 323 South Front Street. I'm here tonight to kind of give you forewarning so you don't panic when it comes in. So if you're aware, I brought copies. I promise it'll be 5 minutes.
I can help you, Bob. You bet.
You may have heard city officials talk about it, read about it in the newspaper. The city of Fremont is out of industrial space, and so we are now pursuing the city's next industrial park, which is the Harold P. Young Industrial Park off of State Route 412. And so probably at the end of this month or beginning of June, you'll see movement out there to start to install the water and sewer lines in the road. The reason I'm here tonight is a little bit more housekeeping. The city and the county have what they call enterprise zone agreements, which are tax abatement agreements attached to job creations to try to lure business into Fremont. That property, which is a total of 150 acres, was in the township that has an enterprise zone agreement, annexed into the city of Fremont, which has the same enterprise zone agreement. But because we've changed jurisdiction, we have to go kind of through the legal process to update that to the state of Ohio, specifically the Ohio Development Services Agency. And one of the requirements of that is to notify the local school board with certified mail of a letter that looks like this, in which you'll be getting in the mail. So I thought, I'm at my daughter's softball game. It started to rain. I could get out of the rain for a little bit, then come over here. And so that if you all receive this letter in the mail, don't panic. And if you have questions, I can come back and kind of share more details. But really, it's kind of a jurisdictional boundary kind of change and kind of aligning the paperwork. And so the Fremont City Council had to pass legislation, and then we've got to put some paperwork together and send it down to the state. But that is my only intent, and I will finish now unless you have questions.
We have no
just
action.
clarification, this is simply notification. There's no approval, no
Action,
action on our part
No.
required at all.
Yeah, legal.
Project.
Yeah, legally I have to notify you through certified mail, or I would just hand you this letter right now today. But I can't, and so, but I thought, I was talking to Tom yesterday at church, and I just thought, I might just stop in and, so that nobody sees this letter and gets too alarmed and wondering what's going on. that I would just kind of give you the heads up it's coming, and then give you a small packet here on where it's located, the size of it, and some of the means there.
Thank you.
All right. And then congratulations on passing the levy. I know a lot of you worked really hard, and it was my 18-year-old daughter was going to graduate from Ross here in a few weeks. That was her first time voting, and it was the only thing on the levy, and she voted for it. So thank you.
Think about.
Thanks,
And
Bob.
if you, with no disrespect, I'm going to leave and go back to sitting in the rain at the ball diamond.
Thank you.
All right. Anyone else want to address the board? Okay. All right. Moving on. Whoops, I got to turn the page. Sorry. Superintendent's report.
Thank you very much, Mr. Price. Just a few things tonight. Regular board meeting. Next board meeting will be our athletic report work session. So we'll hear from Mr. Burnt and all things athletics next meeting. So 22nd, I believe. So just heads up on that. Mrs. Hurt, can I put you on the spot and kind of update us on testing, please? Would you mind? Because she's way more about it and way more into it than I am.
Absolutely, Mr. Detwell.
That's what we do. That's right.
Good evening, Mr. Price, board members, Mrs. Parkhurst. We are coming to the end of statewide testing window. The window will close on this Friday, so we are just finishing up. We have just a handful. We do have a hangover from last Friday's elementary closure. So our fifth graders will be taking the second part of science tomorrow, and that will finish them up. We have a couple middle school tests that will finish up tomorrow and Wednesday. And then it's really just makeups and making sure that we have given all of our students the opportunity that they are allotted to test in the second window, which is math, science, and social studies. But that window will officially close on Friday, and we will put yet another one aside. So that's a good thing.
And this season can't be without a little scare. The incident with our online issue last week where I closed the elementary schools. I think we dodged a bullet there, didn't we?
We did dodge a bullet because that internet outage it impacted every building in the district except for Fremont Middle School and Fremont Ross High School. I did have a very large moment of panic because our high schoolers on that day were testing Algebra 1, which is one of the 2 required tests now for graduation. So we had done a 3-hour early release for our students out of Ross High School who were not involved in the testing, and we had tucked all of our students that did need to take Algebra 1 into testing sites throughout the building, but they continued on without a hiccup. We have had, I believe, 5 broken arms this spring semester. So we've had to enact the broken arm rule, that it really is a thing and exists, and provide scribes
Which is don't break
for
your
our
arm again.
students.
That's what that rule.
Because the student still needs to have the opportunity to take the assessment. We just have to change how we do that. So.
Could you explain the 3-hour, this is new for us, the 3-hour early release?
Absolutely. Previously, we have done a 3-hour delay so that students that needed to test came in the morning first thing, and then students who were not testing would come in, be ready there for lunch, and then have the afternoon of academic time. Our team at Ross High School asked us this year to consider something different and to do an early release so that once we had our students in the building, those who needed to test actually had a better opportunity, they felt would have a better opportunity in the afternoon. There's a ton of research that says that high school students don't function real well in the morning, and they do a little bit better after they are woken up and have some lunch in their bellies and ready to go. So far, we gave it a shot this year, and we've had positive results. We'll survey staff and students once we get past Friday and get a good look at it, but it has worked well so far.
This is what, week 5 of testing?
Yes. So we actually did that for all 5 of our major tests at the high school. So we did it 5 times. And then all of the days in between we can utilize just as makeup days and making sure that we're giving all of our kids the opportunity. So first window was just English language arts. We did have an overlap this year. The state law mandates that we have 15 consecutive days of testing, and we lose that time over spring break. So once the state opens their window, we have to fit our district window within that. So this year we did have an overlap between the last week of English Language Arts was the first week of Math, Science, Social Studies, but we were able to schedule all of the testing in.
Just thought I'd hear that. Thank you, Denise. Really did put her on the spot. She had no idea I was going to ask her to do that.
Not a problem.
Thank you so much. Just a couple other things. Prom was last Saturday. It's always fun. I got a picture of my date and I going into prom. I take the Mrs. Detweiler to prom most years, so we enjoyed ourselves very much. It's just a very fun night. Also had a middle school dance. Hadn't had a middle school dance in a little while. It was a huge hit. They had 300 tickets, I think, sold out like in the first day. Then the panic was there are not enough tickets, and we had some very disappointed students who actually didn't make it in because there weren't enough tickets. But I checked with the principals today, and they had such a good time, they will try it again. So we'll ease into it, make sure it all goes well. But I had a very good middle school dance on Friday. Had our district leadership team meeting last week. We looked at student surveys. If you remember, a few months ago, we went through kind of the staff surveys and kind of asked how we were doing, got some feedback, kind of delved into that a little bit. So we've done the same thing now for students. So I'll be bringing to you the results of our student surveys. They're good. I think there's some things to work on, and I'll share those with you so you can see them. It's going to be good work to be done this summer for sure. This morning I went to the Fremont Area Foundation meeting and kind of got updates on all things working with them. They've got a seafood dinner coming up. I'm sorry, I don't have the date in my head, but that's their next big fundraiser coming up very soon. Watch for that on social media. And last thing for me, it's kind of a sad event. I went to the funeral home this afternoon for Tom Kaiser. Tom has been just a huge supporter of our district, of our students, of our athletes. He's coached us. So funny, this fall, I was at an orchestra concert, and one of his granddaughters was in the orchestra, and he walked up to me and said, I don't think you know who I am. I said, oh, Mr. Kaiser, I do know who you are. He said, well, I'm one of your football coaches. I said, yes, you are. Thank you very much for all you do. But he's just one of those guys that humbly was larger than life. One of the people I was talking to at the funeral home tonight made an observation that Tom just was always enthusiastic about whatever you were enthusiastic about. And that seemed to really summarize Tom. He's been a huge fan of ours, and we'll miss him very much, and our best wishes to the family. Well, that's all I have for my report this evening.
Okay.
All right.
Going on to recommendations.
Thank you very much. All right. Item 1 for contracts. This is our new contract to continue our cooperation with the School of Hope. We'll pray that you'll approve that. They do good work, and it's a. This is actually just for lunches. I'm sorry. We supply lunches for them and have for a couple of years, haven't we, Megan?
Yeah. Yep.
It works out pretty well for all involved. Item 2 is the. This is the renovation project for the pool. It's time. I think the pool 12, 15 years old now. And apparently in this process, you have to redo the grouting on the bottom of the pool due to wear and tear. They say you can start seeing sand gather in the corners, and we're starting to see that. You can actually see, and the kids talk about the grit that's in the bottom of the pool. Well, that's the wearing away of the, I think it's the grout. That may be an oversimplified term, but that has to be redone this summer. So with your approval, we'll get that done this evening.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve items 1 and 2, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lewis. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Espiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Ms. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. Tonight, Board, the policies are item 3 through 6. These are our second readings for those policies. Nothing there generated locally, mostly from our services from OSBA for those policies.
Can I get a motion to approve items 3 through 6, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
All right, a lot of personnel this evening, kind of approving some contracts and resignations and so forth. Our first item is number 7, some resignations for either retirement or resignations. There's Sam Burlekamp, Linda Doring, Jay Screen, Douglas Cheek. Item 8, these are 2 new appointments. We have intervention specialist Natalie Biddle and intervention specialist Santinia Minor. Item 9, these are administrative contracts. These are limited, and you see this over there, quite a few of our district leaders up for new limited contracts. Item 10, administrative limited contracts again. These are our newer group. This is Kyle Henson, Vanessa Moya, and Amanda Nowak. Item 11, administrative appointment for Mr. Anway. As you know, he is a retiree hire, so every year we need to approve Mr. Anway with your vote this evening. Item 12, continuing contracts for the following teachers: Tiffany Bilbrey, Heather Hetrick, Marvin Hunt, and Mark Sandvik. Item 13 are all of our 2-year contract teachers. You can see it goes on to the next page. And then Part B are all the 1-year 1-year contract teachers. That continues on to the next page also to item 14, supplemental contract for James Scherer to do our head golf coach for boys. Item 15, a special event worker, Anita Poole. Item 16 are status changes for Hannah Kohler-Blousey and Brittany LeJune. Continuing on the next page, Corey Rohrbacher, Jessica Scherger, and Rebecca Spicer are also submitting requests for adjusted salary schedule. So those are our personnel items this evening.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve items 7 through 16, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Spiritu. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion?
I just want to make a comment on item 11. For Mr. Anway's contract renewal, that only being a 1-year term, that's a regulatory limitation. I think most of us would probably lock that thing in as long as we can.
Right.
Otherwise,
Yes,
for those of you who don't know, and everything that that particular position is responsible for, look at last board meeting's video and check it out. It was invaluable, particularly during the building. And everything that got announced at the last meeting, there was all that, plus 5 new school buildings, and he was very integral in that. So just wanted to give him a little shout out.
I'm pretty sure we have a 10-year signed contract in blood by Mr. Anway,
Right.
So
Yeah.
we have that in the back file, just
Physical
waiting,
violence,
just in
I think,
case.
is what we've got. Something like that.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
I just have another observation, and I don't know how important this is, but Mr. Burlekamp
Yes.
is listed under resignations and for a contract.
Thank you. Good
He didn't get
catch.
taken off.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. The resignation will supersede the contract, but he has another opportunity. So thank you for catching that.
Any other discussion on those? Okay, roll call, please.
Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. School Bus Driver Appreciation Day. With your approval, we are planning some special something them for this week. I don't want to give away secrets, so it's a super secret. But
You're driving every day?
no, dangerously close, but no. We do appreciate our drivers, and that's such a, it's a tough job, and I can speak from experience. It's just a difficult job, and I had one of the drivers, I won't mention her name, but I was talking about a situation. She's having trouble with a particular couple of kids, but she said, Mr. Evans, I love my job, and even despite the fact that they can get to you a little bit, there's still that connection, with adult to children. So we do appreciate them and what they do, getting our students to school safely every day.
Okay. Can I get a motion to approve item 17, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lewis. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Espiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lewis?
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu?
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom?
Yes.
Ms. Laird?
Yes.
Mr. Price?
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much. Child Nutrition Employee Appreciation Week. That's also a resolution, once again, a group that takes great joy in taking care of our kids. They serve them with smiles and happiness and really good food. So with your help, we're going to celebrate them this week as well.
Can I get a motion to approve item 18, please?
So moved.
Motion by Mrs. Bloom. Can I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Lewis. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much, Board. Item 19 is Teacher Appreciation Week. These all hit kind of in the spring. That's why we kind of roll them together. I don't know what to say about teachers. I did get a chance to cover 5th grade at Krogan 2 Fridays ago. And luckily, I hit a science lesson right down my alley. And I felt some of my juices flowing again, that engagement of how can I make this understandable and exciting, and to see the kids respond. There's just nothing like it. Absolutely nothing like it. So there's still magic in teaching, and that's what we celebrate this week when we talk about teachers and what they do for kids. So with your approval, we'll celebrate.
Can I get a motion to approve item 19, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Laird. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Bloom. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you. And then item 20, our last group for this agenda is our nurses. We had a few nurses here a few meetings ago. You talked about maybe it's nice to hear about what they're doing firsthand, and it certainly was eye-opening for all of us, I know, to know what these nurses do every day to take care of our kids. And it's not just Band-Aids and boo-boos. There are real health needs in our district, very real health needs. There are Band-Aids and boo-boos, but there's a whole lot of stuff that's very serious and very real. Today, had a squad call for a child having trouble breathing, and couldn't get hold of the parents, but there's our nurse front line making sure that child's stabilized until we get someone there to take care of her. So it's real, and we appreciate what they do for us too.
Can I get a motion to approve item 20, please?
So moved.
Motion by Ms. Lewis. Could I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Spiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Ms. Lewis,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Mr. Price.
Yes, motion's approved.
Thank you very much.
Moving on to report of the treasurer.
I know you're super excited to see I have a ton of stuff on the agenda tonight, and I'll probably take the next 20 minutes talking, hopefully 20 seconds. We're wrapping up the school year. Budgets are hopefully going to be good for the rest of the year. The 5-year forecast is looking really good. Definitely helpful with the passage of the levy. That was a huge factor in that. Of course, there's all the legislation that's currently sitting at the House that could affect it over the next couple fiscal years. But as we sit right now with our current knowledge, it is looking halfway decent for first time in a while. So I will be presenting that next week along with the financials for the month of April. But I don't really have anything else tonight. A couple of my kids in my world did get to attend that middle school dance, and
Did
they
they?
were super excited.
was
Oh,
big.
my.
It was a big event,
Yeah.
huge.
So they were very happy to get to attend that.
Okay. Thank you. All right, moving on to board member communications and information. Lori.
Well, much to talk about. Just all the people that are retiring. Another. Wish we could keep them all. And the prom. I mean, my kids went to all of that stuff. That's quite the. And you got girls. It's expensive, but it's fun. Great to see them. I think that's about it.
Anything else?
To say good luck for the people that are moving on to other jobs, other opportunities, but the people that have retired moving on to another part of their life and enjoying, I guess, not working, doing maybe whatever 9 to 5 or whatever they do, maybe able to do other interests that they have. I mean, congratulations for the appointments and the renewal of the contracts for the staff. So that's all I have.
Chantel?
Also to the retirees, thank you for your dedication and service. To the staff that's furthering their education, thank you for your dedication in increasing the skill level that you're going to bring to our children. I think that's something else that really makes our district special, much appreciated.
Sarah?
There will never be enough to say about all of the people that we recognize as far as appreciation in this board meeting. So for all the teachers and nurses and those that provide the nutrition for our kids, there's just not enough we could say or do to show our appreciation for them. I just want to echo what Mr. Detweiler said earlier about Mr. Kaiser. Mr. Kaiser was a very important friend to our school district. I watched so many grown men and young men alike refer to him as coach this evening and every day that I had the privilege to be around him. I guess I just would make a plea to people in our community to take your opportunity to mentor in whatever way suits you. But our kids need positive role models, like the Coach Kaisers of the world, to just love them anyway, and show them just a good path. So here's the Coach Kaiser.
Thank you. I'll say the same. Mr. Kaiser did a lot for a lot of people, and he's been around Fremont, St. Joe, you name it. He's always been involved. What a great guy. Our condolences to the Kaiser family in this time. So, good luck to the students finishing up testing this week, but also finishing out the year. It's not that long, and graduation is just around the corner. So get that stuff in, get it done by the end of the year. Good luck to any of the sports teams that are getting into tournament time right now for baseball, softball, track, all that going on right now. Tennis, finishing up that year strong also. So with that,
Tom, if I may,
Yes.
we have a VIP in the audience here. I didn't want to make sure if he was going to maybe say something. Mr. Officer Olvera, one of our SROs, is here this evening.
He looked around like me.
Yeah. He's doing a fabulous job for us here at the middle school. I just had to say something.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
yes, thank you. With that, we are going to go into an executive session under item M. There will be no board action taken after our executive session. We'll just adjourn immediately after that. So, can I get him? I'll make the motion to move into executive session. Could I have a second, please?
Second.
Second by Mrs. Espiritu. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Mr. Price,
Yes.
Mrs. Spiritu,
Yes.
Mrs. Bloom,
Yes.
Ms. Laird,
Yes.
Ms. Lewis.
Yes.
Motion's approved. We'll be moving into executive session. Thank you.